From the News Channel 5 Network, this is OpenLine.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Open Line on Tuesday night. I'm Ben Hall. Very good show tonight. The legislature back in session. Of course, one of the big issues that's always debated in the legislature involve guns and gun laws. And there are a lot of gun laws that are once again being proposed. We want to hear from you about your thoughts on it. We're happy to have with us the head of the Tennessee Firearms Association, John Harris. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you very much.
You can walk through this. I mentioned a gun law as you came in, and you knew the number right off the top of your head. So I was immediately encouraged by that. So let's give us an overview. How many are out there? What are you seeing this year as far as gun laws?
Right now, we are tracking a total of about 70, but that duplicates House and Senate companion bills, so 35 to 40 bills that have been introduced, several of which we do strongly support, some of which we think are bad ideas and not good for Tennessee, and we're going to oppose them.
How would you characterize the laws in general, beyond good or bad? Are they more regulation or less regulation, or how would you characterize them? It's
a good blend in both directions. The ones that we really like tend to have the effect of removing restrictions and regulations, simplifying the law so it's less likely that someone would inadvertently commit a crime by having a gun somewhere where you shouldn't have it, for example. There are some that increase the amount of regulations or increase the amount of penalties that could result for someone having a gun in the wrong location or using it wrong.
Now, Tennessee Firearms Association certainly has a point of view. You all generally oppose regulation when it comes to guns. Is that a fair statement?
Just like the news media opposes regulating the First Amendment.
So there, okay. So some of the what are some of the laws, I guess, being proposed that you're excited about? Kind of get into those, and that you are concerned about. Maybe one or two.
Well, one of our main criteria for evaluating the laws or the bills that are being introduced is do they make the system simpler to follow? Do they make the laws more in line with what the Second Amendment says when it says shall not be infringed? So Senator Beavers and Representative Rick Womack have a bill that is the Tennessee Constitutional Carry Act. That's a type of law that's in effect in 5 states, completely in effect, and then a total of 29 states in some degree, because there are different phases of that kind of law. Senator Beavers and Representative Micah Van Huss have a bill that passed last year 27-2 in the Senate on open carry without the requirement of a permit.
Open carry means you could walk around and it would just be visible.
It would be visible.
Your gun could be in a holster and it would just be visible.
Yes.
So open carry.
Open carry.
The gun carry permit, that would remove the requirement that there be a carry permit. Is that an accurate statement?
It would. Well, both of them remove it to some extent. Okay. The open carry law that passed 27-2, it may have been 25-2, in the Senate last year, removed the requirement for any permit as long as the weapon's visible.
So anyone could carry a gun, anyone, as long as it's visible?
If that had passed, that's what open carry would mean.
Okay.
And the constitutional carry bill goes one step further and says you can carry it either openly or concealed without a permit. The version of the bill, though, that Senator Beavers and Representative Womack have still contain a provision for optional permits, which we strongly support. And for example, the optional permit is what Arizona uses, and it would allow people who have the Tennessee permit to continue to have reciprocity with other states, so you could travel in about 35 states even with an optional permit, where if we went pure constitutional carry like Vermont does, you wouldn't be able to leave the state for practical purposes and be armed.
Now, the carry permit, there are people who say they're there for a reason.
Sure.
It's the reason you get the background check, right? And that's why they're there, to make sure that appropriate people, I guess, non-dangerous people, whatever the wording is, don't just go get a gun. You're talking about removing that.
Removing it as a requirement under the criminal code, correct.
So I know there are people that are concerned by that. Why, if there is a person out there, and I think there are many that are concerned by that, would you say they shouldn't be concerned by that?
Well, they shouldn't be concerned because firearms in Tennessee, the patron state of shooting stuff, as they say in the movie Shooter, is a situation that's been here our entire existence. We've had people carrying firearms legally for 20 years now. The first permit law passed in '94. We've got 500,000 people in the state with carry permits, approximately. We've got a lot of people, for example, your listeners may know this. Last year, effective July the 1st, the legislature repealed any requirement for a permit to transport loaded guns, including rifles and shotguns, in personal vehicles. So there's no requirement for a permit at all to have the gun loaded in your car driving around now. And we've not seen any change. I mean, y'all report the news. There's not been a rash of shootings or machine gunning, at stoplights. The issue of moving in the direction of not requiring a permit boils down to a discussion I had with Bill Haslam 4 years ago. And that was, in 2013, which is the last year we've got data, the state of Tennessee charged $12.5 million to process permits. That's at $115 a pop or $50 a pop for renewal. That program, though, only cost the state $6.2 million to run. So the state profited $6.3 million over issuing these permits. And what I told now Governor Haslam was, when he was running, I said, show me with TBI data where the requirement of a permit is really reducing crime. And if it's not reducing crime, because there's a huge cost associated with the program, if it's not reducing crime that we require these permits, then let's get rid of the permit requirement.
Do you think it has kept people that shouldn't have a gun, irresponsible people, from getting a gun? Has it done that?
No, it hadn't done it at all. Irresponsible people don't follow the law. They're just not, You don't see that many robbers, burglars, criminals bothering with a permit. It's just not an element that's out there. So the permit, I don't see, having been dealing with this for 20 years and representing people in the court system, the permitting process isn't keeping people from committing crimes as a general matter. All it does is put in place a permission slip system, essentially a poll tax, for citizens who want to exercise what the United States Supreme Court has said is a fundamental right.
There's been pushback on the part of pro-gun individuals when legislation is proposed that would limit those rights. Now we're seeing in Tennessee just enormous legislation that pushes in the other direction. Are you worried when some of these things are advanced that you're going too far in the other direction? You're talking about getting rid of gun carry permits that have been around for a long time, some of the other stuff. Are you worried that it could go too far in the other direction?
No, and one of the reasons is when you look at the bell curve of where states are, all 50 states, on this issue of Second Amendment and the permits, you've got almost a 200-year, in some states more than 200-year history. Vermont, for example, has, in their constitution, never had a permit requirement. And you don't see any kind of data indicating that their crime rates or the negligent shooting rates or anything like that's any higher in Vermont than any other state. In the last 10 years, Arizona, Alaska, Wyoming, and there's one more, Arkansas, I think, have moved in the direction of getting rid of permit requirements completely. Other states like Kentucky has no requirement, and to my knowledge hasn't had one in a long time, as to carrying weapons openly without a permit. And you don't see, when you compare the different states and their permit laws, you don't see that having the permit makes the state any safer or any less at risk of crime. And so with Vermont having been out there for so long and these other states having adopted the same type of law and doing it years ahead of us, we just don't see any data coming that shows that Tennessee moving in the direction of permitless carry or constitutional carry is going to create any harm, risk, or safety concern for the public.
But do you understand some people might think that it makes some people uncomfortable?
Oh, yeah. I mean, you could make the same argument that, unless you've got a 12th grade education, you shouldn't vote because you might be voting for, wrong reasons. But we let everybody vote. And under the First Amendment, we let everybody talk. And under freedom of religion. They worship whoever they want.
So where do you think this gun carry permit, the Rick Womack bill, what do you think it'll pass, or what are its prospects? We
think it should pass, and whether it will is a political issue. But we have, for example, on video, at a time when Bill Haslam was campaigning for governor, he has unequivocally said, and it's on YouTube, that he will sign constitutional carry legislation as soon as it's passed. So we've got a Republican supermajority and a Republican governor that says he'll sign it. So what's the excuse not to pass it?
All right, we will take a break. If you're on the line, hold on. There are a few lines open if you want to call. We'll talk about that more if you'd like, or other bills, or whatever. There's the number, 737+, 737-7587. We'll take a break. Be back right after this.